Welcome back, citizens, to episode 6 of Enter the Ultraverse card pack review. Today I am opening up my first Dark Technologies pack, so we'll see some Void Priests again, and for the first time we'll see some Technomages. So stand by as we get ready to open up this pack. And the pack is loaded in, so we will do our standard opening here. Now, just a quick note, this pack was won at a Cardania Marbles event, so if you haven't participated before, make sure you check it out. Typically, it's on Friday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, depending on what time zone you can adjust that. But tons of information on the project gets released. You can win plenty of prizes, including the coveted Aeonium Sky Marble at the end of the night. But you can also win plenty of other prizes like this pack here. So any of these cards that I get to keep are all thanks to that Marbles win. So without further ado, let's get into the pack opening. So we'll start over here, do our standard left to right.
Grand.
And our first one is a Tundra Titan Grand Mech Elemental. Alright, first one here in terms of the neutral card. Alright, let's keep going.
Grand.
Second grand. Maximus Rex, yes. Okay, I love this art. This art has been around for a while. One of the first pieces kind of dropped by Cardania in terms of the one-of-one art that's been shown. Really was hoping to get this one. So stoked to have it.
Common.
Okay, Quantum Wurm. Here's our first Void Priest card of the pack.
Common.
Recycled parts.
Rare.
Summon the Terror. Okay, I think that's a new one to me as well. Love that art also. Got two more. We've got one of each, Technomage and Void Priest left.
Rare.
Okay, rare Abyssal Seance, and our last Technomage card here.
Rare.
Okay, a rare Psyops Base. Awesome. So we got a couple of grands. Love the Maximus Rex, Grand Tundra Titan. Again, with the neutral cards, I'm definitely excited to have as many of the rare, more rare cards, the legendaries and the grands for the neutrals, because they can be played in any deck with any different faction. So super happy to have this. And with that, let's get into the pack review. Alright, and we're back with the card pack here. Let's get started. We'll start over here with Tundra Titan, our neutral card for this pack, the Grand Mech Elemental. Unfortunately, not much known about the effect, not even a cost put up here, so a little bit of work still to be done on this card. Again, I do think getting more rare neutral cards is going to be beneficial because they can be flexible in being fit into any type of deck. So if there's a neutral card that's going to be good for a control deck, it's going to fit into any faction's control style. If there's a neutral card that's good as a removal tool or as a aggressive enabler, it's going to be good in any sort of aggressive style deck. So again, happy to have it. Not sure too much to talk about here, but we'll keep moving on. All right, Maximus Rex, Grand Mech Beast, a Technomage card, 6 spirit, 6/7 body on the board with the effect engage all enemy creatures lose 3 attack. All right, okay, this is another example of the card itself, and depending on which faction it's in, but just the way that the mechanics are fitting so well in with the card lore, with the faction lore. I love it. This Maximus Rex being infused with the Cursed Soul of a Mighty Ultrasaur is essentially making the enemy creature shrivel down in terror, losing 3 attack when it's played. So effectively in the gameplay, this is going to make this 7 health much stickier. Even though 7 health is still a lot of health, it's going to be even more effective because all of the enemy creatures are going to be down 3 attack permanently, it looks like. Right? So it doesn't even seem to be a 1-turn effect. It just says they just lose the 3 attack. So especially if you have an opponent that's going wide on the board, they have a lot of smaller creatures, this is going to be very effective. Because let's say you've got a board that's full of small token cards that are 3 or less attack. When all enemy creatures lose 3 attack, then they're going to be 0 attack creatures, and you might just freeze the enemy's board, which means that they'll have to spend either a buff card on a creature to then be able to attack in and free up space so that they can play something else, or they might have to just use a board wipe that also wipes their own board, which if it's an aggressive deck they probably wouldn't have. So very effective, I would say, in a control style deck at neutralizing boards that go wide and token decks. And you get a 6/7 body after it. Love this card. I think this is very powerful. Next is Quantum Wurm. So this is a 4 spirit 2/2 common void worm with the effect consume up to 2 other worms you control. Okay, this effect makes sense given the high spirit cost to the low body that's behind it. So if you got a couple of worms on board, you can play this to essentially remove those 2 worms, absorb their spirit, or sorry, not their spirit, but their health and attack into this worm to make one larger creature that may be more difficult for your opponent to handle. A couple of risks with this and a couple of downsides to this. First of all, you have to have some worms on the board, not just creatures, but specifically worms. So if there's a worm heavy deck, then this could fit into it and be a key component. It's also a win more style card in that you have to have 2 cards that are already sticky enough to stay on the board and not be removed by the enemy before you can even enable this effect to be worthwhile. So to me, this seems to be more of a niche card. If there's a specific worm deck, this could fit into it. Otherwise, I'm not sure how useful it's going to be. Recycled Parts is our next card, another Technomage card. This one's a spell, 3 spirit common spell with the effect sacrifice a mech with neuralink. Gain +1 max spirit, draw 1 card. Okay, so a couple things here. One, you're sacrificing one of your own mech cards, so that's not great. But the effect you get on top of it is fairly good. Gain a max spirit, draw a card. Now, let's talk about neuralink for a second. So going back to the design overview video, which we've referenced plenty of times before, the Technomage's main faction design goes around a never-ending cycle and neuralink. So this neuralink is going to be essentially linking together 2 separate Technomage cards. Now they will both need to have the neuralink key phrase, but when you do link those 2 creatures, you exhaust, and when that creature with neuralink attacks, exhaust all other creatures with neuralink and add their stats to the attacking creature. So in effect, if we go back to this Quantum Wurm, so this Quantum Wurm is doing on effect what neuralink will do on attack. So on attack, a neuralink creature is going to absorb the health and attack of whatever it is linked to, and to make essentially a larger creature, but also is going to feed into the second part of the Technomage faction design, which is this exothermic coalescer. So this is going to be some sort of mechanic that is fueled by mechs dying on your side of the battlefield specifically. So it's whenever let's say you've got a neuralink with a couple of different mechs, you attack in with one that's going to essentially kill one of the other mech that it's neuralinked to and absorb its health and attack into that first mech. And when that second mech dies, it's going to boost this exothermic coalescer that's going to get you closer to whatever effect you're trying to get to with this mechanic. Don't know too much about what exact effects are going to be coming out of the exothermic coalescer, but it is a key central part of the Technomage faction. So looking back at Recycled Parts, this does multiple things. One, you're sacrificing a mech with neuralink. So if you have already attacked in with the mech and coalesced into one larger mech with a neuralink, this may not be great to play on it because you've already utilized resources and kind of poured resources into that one mech. However, remember, to do that you have to have had already 2 neural linked creatures on the board and attacked in with one. That might be kind of difficult to do. So if you're trying to get that exothermic coalescer going, and I'm having a hard time getting 2 neural links on board to then be able to attack, this can be an early game start to that exothermic coalescer by immediately sacrificing a mech that has neuralink and boosting that coalescer, while at the same time gaining 1 max spirit and drawing a card. So it helps you cycle through your deck. It actually gives you more spirit, so you can start playing higher spirit, cost things faster. Or if we look at this other factor for the Technomage faction, the endothermic catalyzer is fueled by Shattering Spirit for either player. And what Shattering Spirit's going to be, it's going to be essentially destroying one spirit either from you or from your opponent, depending on the card. And so if you've done this early game, that can actually be a hindrance moving forward because you're one spirit behind the rest of the game, unless you have recycled parts, which can either catch you back up to gain +1 max spirit, so that if you've shattered one of your own spirit to get a boost early game, you can recover that spirit by playing recycled parts. Or if you haven't shattered one of your spirit yet, this will actually put you ahead of the opponent in terms of your economy with spirit. So I think this plays very well into the Technomage faction design. It interacts with pretty much every part of the Technomage faction central mechanics, in that it deals with neuralink, it deals with spirit, and it kills a mech as well. So you're dealing with neuralink, the exothermic, sorry I'm reading the words, exothermic coalescer, and the endothermic catalyzer all in one card. So I think this is going to be a core Technomage spell that fits into a lot of different Technomage decks, even if the mechanics you're going after might be slightly different. Love the design there. Alright, moving on. Summon the Terror, a Void Priest card. This is a 8 spirit rare spell, so very, very expensive. So hopefully the effect is very good. Effect: lose all faith and summon the next void creature in your deck, where X equals the amount of faith lost. Okay, gotta read a little bit into this, not 100% clear yet, but remember the Void Priest class has that scale, that sliding scale, where you're going towards dedication on one end, and that's going to be more of the faith-based side of the scale. So remember, there's a faith side, and I'm drawing a blank on the other side. I can look that up in a second. But as you go up and down that scale of madness, it's faith and madness. Sorry, I just remembered. But as you go on that sliding scale, you have different effects that can be triggered. So this is going to be one of the ways to cash in on sliding down the faith side of that scale. So let's say you've played multiple cards throughout the game that build up your faith. You can then utilize that resource with this card, Summon the Terror, that will summon the next void creature in your deck. I'm assuming X is going to be the health and the attack. So let's say you've built up 8 faith. You play this card, it does cost 8 spirit, so it's expensive, and it pulls a void creature out of your deck with, I would assume that to be 8 health and 8 attack. Or if you only had 4 faith built up, it would be with 4 faith, or 4 attack and 4 health. So this is going to be very much dependent on a deck that can boost the amount of faith that's generated quickly, because I would assume you would want more than just this to be the mechanic that's used with the faith build up throughout the game. So I would think you would build up faith, utilize something with that faith to go back to 0, build up faith again, try to have another good effect, and cycle through your deck in that manner. So this is just another enabler for that mechanic of the Void Priest. 8 spirits seems like a lot, especially if you're not going to be getting more than the 8/8, 10/10 type of a creature. But again, a lot of that depends on how easy it is to build up faith throughout the game and how impactful large creatures are going to be on the board. Moving on, Abyssal Seance is a 5 spirit cost rare spell with the effect summon 1 Abyssal Geist for each creature in your graveyard. You take damage equal to the number summoned. Okay, so this screams token aggressive deck to me. So 5 spirit will be more towards still early to mid game in terms of being able to play this card. A little bit later, but my guess is if you're playing an aggressive deck, you'll have already had many token type cards or cheap creatures on the board that may have already gotten killed and gone into your graveyard. You play this out and you immediately can refill your board based off of the number of creatures in your graveyard. So quickly, let's take a look over at the codex. So Abyssal Geist, and if y'all haven't seen codex.cardania.com, you can go to the Enter the Ultraverse card library and type in whatever you would like to look for in a card. So Abyssal Geist isn't an NFT card essentially, but it's a token in the game. Don't have the art for it yet, but you can see it's a token creature that is a 2/1. So you're filling the board with 2/1s based off of the amount of creatures you have on board. So if you've had 4 creatures that died, you play 5 spirit, you put 5 of those Abyssal Worms on the board, and you can move from there. So again, great token card. I think this will probably be a mainstay of an aggressive Void Priest deck. And then finally, we have Psyops Base. This is our last card for the pack, a Technomage card, which is a 3-spirit rare support. So it's a support card. It's a 2/4 body, but again, supports don't interact like normal creatures do. With the effect, Neuralink, Guardian, Holographer. Can't attack. Okay, so not exactly sure what the Guardian and Holographer keywords mean, but my guess is and it's on effect with Neuralink. So this is, I think, just augmenting the Neuralink skill, or not skill, but effect with the Technomage class. So like we saw earlier in the video, when you have 2 Neuralinked creatures on the board, you attack in with 1. What happens is that second creature gets absorbed into the first creature with Neuralink, so its health and attack gets put towards that first creature that's attacking. So this one, you're augmenting that effect with Guardian and Holographer. My guess is with Guardian, you might be either creating something like a shield for the creature that's attacking, or making it a taunt, something like that. Holographer is also going to be another effect. Going to be waiting on the devs to get more information on exactly what those keywords do, but this is essentially a support card for the Technomage class that is going to boost the Neuralink mechanic. So any sort of Technomage class that is targeting the Neuralink mechanic to be a driving factor for success is going to be wanting to play this card. Alright, and that does it for this pack. Super stoked for the Maximus Rex. First of all, the art is something I've wanted for a long time. The effect is very strong. First time opening up any Technomages and talking through some of those mechanics, so I think Recycle Parts is going to be a great enabler for a lot of those effects in the Technomage faction. And overall, still loving the feel of the factions, how that faction identity is being integrated into the cards, and just can't wait to keep opening these up and doing these reviews for you. So citizens, thank you for watching again, and I will see you in the next episode.